It's a biological paradox sitting right in front of us literally every single day. I mean, how does a cow just chew on simple green grass, but somehow produce pure white milk?
And if you take it a step further, think about the anatomy for a second. How exactly does that milk stay perfectly separate from blood and waste inside the exact same body? These hidden, microscopic systems are working flawlessly around the clock to make sure there is zero cross-contamination.
And here is where it gets even more fascinating. Why is the longest chapter of the Qur'an called Surah Al-Baqarah, which literally translates to the cow? How exactly does biology intersect with ancient sacred history?
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into how a totally ordinary everyday animal is actually viewed as an extraordinary sign of creation. We're going to look at the cow not just as livestock, but as a profound symbol of wisdom, provision, and mercy. I am so excited to guide you through this, so let's jump right in.
Here's what we're going to cover. 1. The mystery of Al-Baqarah. 2. The miracle of milk. 3. Nutrition and true sacrifice. And 4. Compassion and common myths.
Okay, Section 1. The mystery of Al-Baqarah, a murder, a nation, and a cow. We're traveling thousands of years back to a really fascinating ancient mystery among the children of Israel.
So this story actually plays out almost like an ancient detective thriller. A man was murdered, and nobody had a clue who the killer was. Seeking justice, the people went to Prophet Musa, or Moses, for guidance. The solution given by Allah was incredibly simple: just slaughter a cow. But instead of obeying immediately, the people kept asking questions. What kind of cow? What color should it be? How old should it be? Every single question they asked just made the task more difficult for themselves. Finally, they found a cow fitting their highly specific, self-imposed constraints and slaughtered it. By divine command, the dead man was then brought back briefly, just long enough to identify his killer.
Which brings us to a very powerful quote from the text, "Indeed, Allah commands you to slaughter a cow." The source text uses this moment to highlight a profound human flaw. You know, sometimes a path forward is simple, but we make things so difficult through unnecessary arguments. In this context, true faith means trusting the process without overcomplicating it.
And we actually see the inverse of this obedience in the story of the golden calf. When Prophet Musa went to Mount Sinai, some of his people made a golden calf out of their jewelry and started worshiping it. The lesson here is pretty stark. When a nation loses its focus on the truth and moves away from their faith, they easily fall into following false things that literally cannot help them at all.
All right, moving on to Section 2. The miracle of milk, science and provision. What's incredible here is how we transition seamlessly from ancient history directly into modern biology.
This biological marvel was actually described centuries ago. Take a listen to this quote from Qur'an chapter 16, verse 66. "We give you drink from what is in their bellies, between waste and blood, pure milk, pleasant for those who drink it." Think about the sheer precision of that description. Let's break down exactly how this happens inside the animal.
Because a cow doesn't just have a standard stomach, right? It has a highly specialized 4-step biological refinery. First up, the rumen acts as a massive fermentation vat for those tough grasses and leaves. Then, the reticulum steps in for further nutrient breakdown. Third is the omasum, which basically acts like a sponge to absorb water. And finally, the abomasum. This handles the final digestion before all those extracted nutrients can safely enter the cow's bloodstream.
And this is where we see that brilliant separation of systems. The grass becomes nutrients in the blood, which then travel to the udder. Inside the udder, special cells take water, proteins, sugars, and fats and completely transform them into milk. But notice the distinct separation happening here. Waste goes exclusively through the digestive system. Blood flows exclusively in blood vessels, and milk is produced and stored exclusively in special milk glands. Milk, blood, and waste literally never mix. It's an absolute masterclass in biological engineering.
Which brings us to Section 3, Nutrition and True Sacrifice, Physical and Spiritual Benefits. Let's see how this biological provision builds into both physical nourishment and spiritual devotion. Beyond milk, cows give us massive nutritional value through their meat. The breakdown is super impressive. We're talking high-quality protein, which is essential for muscle growth, iron to maintain healthy blood cells, zinc, an absolute powerhouse for strong immunity, and vitamin B12, which is absolutely crucial for proper brain function. Especially for growing teenagers and young adults, these specific nutrients are vital for development.
But there's this really profound spiritual dimension here, too. Every year during Eid al-Adha, millions of Muslims sacrifice animals, including cows. But does the meat or the blood itself have some sort of divine property? No. As this verse powerfully clarifies, neither their meat nor their blood reaches Allah, but what reaches him is your piety, or taqwa. The physical provision, the meat, is distributed for human benefit and to feed the poor. The true underlying purpose of the sacrifice is obedience, sincerity, and inner devotion.
Finally, Section 4. Compassion and Common Myths, Ethics and Facts. Let's look at how these concepts shape the ethical treatment of animals and our understanding of scientific facts.
It all starts with a very clear mandate for compassion. As this well-known hadith states, the most merciful shows mercy to those who are merciful. Islamic tradition teaches that a cow, and honestly any animal, should never be abused. It should never be starved, and it shouldn't be harmed without reason. Every creature deserves compassion, and our ethical treatment of them is a direct reflection of our own mercy.
Now let's address a cultural topic and just lay out the facts. There is a common myth out there that cow urine is a cure for many diseases. However, when we look at both authentic Islamic texts and modern science, we see a completely different reality. The Qur'an and authentic hadiths simply do not recommend cow urine as a general medicine. And modern science backs this up, identifying urine for exactly what it is, a waste product containing substances like urea and ammonia. It's biological waste meant to be expelled by the body, not a proven medical cure.
So bringing it all together, look at the complete, extraordinary picture of the cow. It's an animal that eats simple grass and leaves. Through an incredibly complex biological factory, it produces pure, perfectly separated milk. It provides nutrient-dense meat to sustain human life and health. It serves as a medium for sincere spiritual religious sacrifice, and it anchors historical lessons of faith and obedience that have been studied for millennia.
When you step back and look at all of that at once, this quote from Quran 45:4 makes perfect sense. And in your creation and in the creatures he has spread throughout the earth are signs for people of certainty. It brilliantly illustrates that what we often dismiss as just an everyday animal is actually part of a grand, deliberate, and deeply intricate design.
So, the next time you pour yourself a glass of milk, or you're just driving by and see a cow peacefully grazing in a field, ask yourself, is it merely an animal, or is it a living, breathing sign of extraordinary wisdom, provision, and mercy?